So we got 1 o'clock, so we're going to get started today. Welcome, you guys. Appreciate you all being on. And if you have the ability to, in a quiet spot and you want to chat a little bit, that'd be awesome. Talk actually, or use the chat. We've got Sunny monitoring that. You might hear my phone in the background. I'm waiting for Xfinity to come and basically fix my internet, and so I may have to grab that call real quick. I'm not going to leave you. If I have the ability, which I may not, I'm gonna share a concept with you that I discovered, and I have a graphic for you that I'll pop up when I have the opportunity to do that. And that is this: we all know how crazy the market's in, how crazy the market is that we're in right now, and I don't really have the answer to some of these questions. I'm asking myself, like for example, I did a presentation. I do a presentation every year called Market Watch. This happens to be called Market Trends this year. It's my 23rd year doing it, where I give a little synopsis of what happened in the year previous and a little snapshot into what's going forward. Last year we had 1,100 people in attendance. It was actually the last event we had at the major venue we had before COVID shut things down. So this year it's virtual, and we have about that same many signed up for it virtually. And so here's my aha on this issue, right? We're in the greatest market we've ever been in. We've had including February, 9 months of record year-over-year transactions. So what I want you to write down about this, because I think it's going to be true. A lot of people you're going to be working with maybe have a question about, okay, are we headed for another bubble? Talking to Faye's been in real estate as long as I have, and I don't know where she was like in 2005 or 6, although I know she's in Arizona. And Arizona certainly had the bubble like Nevada, Las Vegas, and Fort Myers. And so one of the questions that I was going to pose to you guys, and I don't know if you have an answer to this, I understand why, markets like Arizona and, even Idaho, where you have that California flight into these other states. Florida is doing really well because we're open, and a lot of the closed states, the blue states, whatever, our snowbirds that we affectionately call them, are coming down. What's interesting though is I don't know of any of the markets around the country that are doing poorly, even in like California markets doing good, although a lot of people are leaving. So what's interesting is this: I think we can all agree that we're probably in a super duper market. And you would think that if you're in the best market in the history of man, it would be nirvana. There would be no challenges, right? Which isn't the case. There are challenges out there. There's only one time in my nearly 40 years where I had the perfect market. However, it's kind of like that maybe when your first date or your high school class reunion or whatever, you can never go back and duplicate it, right? Well, that was in 2004 or 5, which all the buyers were happy, all the sellers were happy. However, what happened after that, that was the big frat party. What happened after that was the hangover. And it took 15 years. Literally, January of 2021 was the first time our market got back to where it was when the bubble burst 15 years ago. So I say all that to say this: what I want you to write down, and this is kind of my aha, and you can chat about it openly or in the chat box. This is stuff I think you might want to know to share with your potential buyers or sellers. People are going to ask, is this market real, and can it be sustained? Let me give you my blink on that. I believe the market is real. The demand is real. Can it be sustained? No, I don't think it can be. Let me give you a couple of examples. In Florida around hurricane season, which is summer all the way through probably September, October, if a storm starts to come this way, and you see it on the news all the time, and a hurricane starts to get closer, people run to Home Depot, buy, they go to the grocery store, you can't find bottled water, you can't find plywood, you can't find a generator. Is that demand real? Yes. Is it sustainable? No. People are preparing for something. They're in fear. They want to prepare their homes, shutter it up, etc. Another example that everyone can relate to: the vaccine, the COVID vaccine. Is the demand for the vaccine real? You bet it is. Is it sustainable? No, because at some point in time, A, it will be obsolete, or B, we won't need it anymore. Now, when I say the demand is real, and why I want you to know that is, For the life of me, I haven't been able to figure out how a bubble is being created here, because what I want to talk about is a concept that I'm going to introduce from my typical pricing drawing. I'm just giving you the background of it. I believe that the demand is real, not sustainable. However, you remember my pricing graph. I've got the top market value, right? And I would show that if I could share a screen. I just can't figure out how to do that right this second. I have a new line, guys. That green line, theoretically, when I have it on there and call it top market value, I'm going to call that top market value rational. There's another line I'm seeing in this marketplace. It's called top market value irrational. Now, theoretically, that one is above the top market rational value. And I know, technically speaking, that's the super duper superheated top market value. I just want you to know that this is a scenario that you can be talking about with your potential sellers. Let me give you a couple of cases in point. In fact, there's one more line. There's comp value, what your past sales are saying it should sell for. There's a rational value, which is the highest, the top dollar rationally, which is above comp value. And then there's the highest line yet is the irrational or top value irrational. Are you tracking with me so far? Anybody say yes, amen, or keep going, or stop and let's just do something different?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Now,
Yes.
great. Now, here's what I want. Here, let me give you a couple examples. One from California, one that just happened to me yesterday. And I don't want you to fall in this mistake as an agent standpoint. And I want you to listen to me and pretend like you're sellers right now. And let me know if this doesn't make you feel good as a potential seller. Okay, so I use this example out of California that I've been talking to them and working with them a lot. Very experienced agent goes in with his comparables. He does a lot of luxury. His comparables are saying that this property should comp out. And I notice I never say that with a client, right? Past sales are supporting a $2 million sales price. And so therefore the old narrative that goes on probably before we had pencils, where if you have an upward moving market, you may be able to stretch that 10%, 5%, maybe at the most 15%. So he suggests, based on his 20 some years experience in a normal market, a $2.2 million asking price. Now you would guess that's probably pretty cool, right? And pretty typical. Yes, it is, except this is not a typical market. We are in a irrational market with demand that's sustainable. I mean, a demand that's real, yet not sustainable. The seller says, no, I want 2.5. And you would just, many times I have walked away from sellers that are unrealistic. I think everyone has, and maybe rightfully so. He then basically says they agree on, he talks to him about 2.3 and they're a little bit wishy-washy. He goes ahead and orders appraisal at 2.3, comes in at 2.3. Sellers still say 2.5. And the thing he did right is he took the listing at 2.5. I think I shared that with you somewhat last week. They had multiple offers on it at 2.5 cash. So as you go out there and you price property, at what point would you basically turn down the seller? Let me give you an example of what happened to me this week. I had a referral from a great agent from the Boston area who has a piece of property in our area, a lot. This is a buildable home site, right? He bought it when the market was 2004. The market was super hot. He probably paid, this is, you have a boat behind your house and go out into the water, so it's a very popular lot. He probably paid $170,000 for it. Well, it went down to probably $35,000 and the market crashed. Well, it's been coming back. And so he's thinking about selling it. Get this. He throws an ad on Facebook with no agent. He has immediate offer, actually has a real estate agent willing to buy it at 120, and they'll pay all the closing costs. So you know it's worth more than that. Another offer comes in from a local individual that for $130,000. He's thinking about taking it. Well, the agent refers him to us. We do a little research. Now, that's the comps were showing that 120, maybe that the top market value rational at 130. The eyeballs that were on that particular piece of property are coming from within our town. They are looking at it from a rational standpoint. Their numbers 120, 130 are dead on when it comes to past sales and maybe past sales plus something. We're putting it on the market at $160,000. We just discovered that another one just went pending. It was listed at $160,000 and there's nothing else for sale. Now he has the opportunity, if in fact that's where the fish bite at 160, to put an extra $30,000 into his pocket by using the top market irrational line. Now, I'm just gonna, I'll post, well, next week I'll show you the graphs. I'll actually make them available to you if you want to use it with your client. What I'm attempting to say is this. If you were a seller sitting there listening to this conversation as, look, if you could basically, if we could take advantage of the irrational market, and I made some notes, the difference between a rational market and irrational market is, number one, is perspective. People coming into our market, people I know going into the Arizona market from California are used to things much more expensive. And so when they come into my market, maybe Arizona market, certain parts of it, it's cheap. They also have more motivation than people that are living here. What I'm saying is that people that are living here aren't leaving something. They're already enjoying this environment. They like this environment. The people from the north, maybe the urban environments, maybe the blue states, who knows, they're more motivated. They're coming in here and they have a different tolerance level. So what would it sound like if you had a conversation with the seller, like I did with the owner of this lot? He was willing to take 130. And so I had a conversation with him. I'm happy to role play that conversation with him. How would you have a conversation with that seller without putting your fingerprints on the price? And I'd like to demonstrate that. If someone would be a seller, you don't have a big part here. I'll just walk you through what I would do. If just assume that, you know, you were happy with 130. However, I think they're leaving some meat on the bone. So does anybody?
I'll do it with you, Denny.
Is that Curtis?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So Curtis, so I understand that 130, you would be satisfied with that, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. I think that would be a pretty good price for what I'm offering.
Is there any reason why, now notice I'm going to be using the questions, right? Is there any hurry for you in actually selling it? And what I mean by that is, let me just ask the question. Ideally, when would you like to have that money in your hand?
Maybe by the end of summer, you know, to look at some other opportunities, and definitely before any major changes in the market. But no, I wouldn't say I'm in a huge hurry.
Okay, so if we took a little bit longer, maybe certainly inside that, because obviously we don't know when the market may shift. However, if you had 30 days or 45 days, and that could put an extra pile of money in your pocket, would you want to see if the market would do that?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so now I might want to, here's what's happening. I'll go through this scenario. The past sales are supporting those offers you got between 120 and 130. We're finding that the buyers coming into this marketplace, because they have motivation and they have a different perspective on things, are willing to pay what seems like almost irrational. So my question is, if we don't know where the market is, I mean, we could sell it faster if you want, or we can go for more money. It might take a little longer. What would you want to do?
I mean, I definitely want more money if I can get it.
Now, here's where it takes a little bit of thought, because now Curtis doesn't know where the number is, and you could ask him, what does he want? He'd have no idea. And so, and you might have the right to push back on me a little bit. However, because we're the ones that said, listen, there was a building site similar to yours just went pending in the 160 range. Now, does 160 sound better than 130?
Yeah, absolutely.
So that could be a starting point.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Now, talk to me, you guys. Technically speaking, I guess I have a fingerprint on the starting point. So you could say, Denny, boo to you. However, I don't think it would be realistic to have a conversation. I could ask the question, in your wildest imagination, what would you want? Well, I paid 178 for it, whatever. You could have that conversation. However, when I mentioned the 160, technically speaking, you could also pin me on the fact that could be a comp or a past sale where everything else is like 120 or 130. I'm looking at the 160 as an outlier. And maybe that's one of those irrational buyers. I'm just wondering if there could be a fish there. So y'all talk to me just a little bit and give me your opinion. Do you think I'm double speaking? Because I did come up with a 160, yet I do want him, if he has the time, to be able to stretch the market up to the irrational level. Although I mentioned the 160 as a past data point, I did not give him any hopes, any certainty, or any percentage that would actually happen. So do you think I'm being a little bit inconsistent with what I'm saying and teaching, or do you understand the difference in the nuance?
I think you're giving hope while, still setting expectation, of what's realistic, but it's kind of a unrealistic time as far as what we're experiencing. So, it kind of can go both ways. It's kind of a hard duality to express perfectly clear.
If you're living in a home and you have some local knowledge, it might be a little bit easier to, hey, look, Curtis, if I gave you a magic wand, I mean, without being totally in Disneyland, what would be kind of a cool number? Now he says 2.3 million and it's only worth 500. I think, well, that would be awesome, right? However, in the case that I'm talking to a guy that has this home site that does not live here, does not know this market. It's not like he's living in the home. It's a piece of land he bought in 2004. I don't think he's been back since. So I had to help him out a little bit. I keep hearing stories, you guys, and this is my point on this, and we can drill down deeper if you want, we can go on to something else, is this. What it bothers me where I'm hearing over and over that agents are listing houses using the past sale approach, adding a 10% factor and getting offers 30% above that. I'm just wondering, why don't they go to the irrational range to find out if that buyer is there? Because right now, that is what I'm seeing happen. We are seeing things that we cannot defend from a past sales standpoint. We have the velocity and speed of the market. And I don't think many agents are pricing aggressively enough, number one. And the biggest mistake is this. I talked about this last week. They're walking away from listings. So again, if you're new on my call, when it comes to working with sellers, I do not set listing prices. I set expectations. When I work with a buyer, I don't set prices. I set expectations. If the seller wants more than what I think the past sale line is, my question would be, Curtis, if I agree to list it at 800,000, are you ready to do business with me today? I close. If I can get the listing, then I will basically share the side effects of that decision with him. Bottom line, I'm instructing my team. Again, our fingerprints and DNA are not on the price, particularly when they're aggressive. We're not walking away from anything right now. So that's my 2 cents worth on what I'm finding now is the top market value, rational, and there's a top market value, irrational, and it's only temporary. Any thoughts, questions, or insights into that?
Just one real quick. what, like, time frame wise, I know statistically, going on, whether you're having showings, offers, all that, do you find that holding the price before you make an adjustment a little bit longer to try and find the right buy, those outlier buyers before you're making adjustments is necessary? Or are you sticking pretty normally to your, when you would make price adjustments?
Well, there's no rule of thumb. However, if you're an outcome one and you've been there for a week or two, what is that telling you? Outcome one would be low to no showings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, low to no showings, you're for sure not you're not super close if you're getting no showings at all. So I don't remember what the exact percentage, but like 6 to 8 or something, I think was what it was.
I don't go by numbers, because the numbers can be different by price range.
Okay.
You just have to know basically on the flow of the market based on what price point that is. The question that you're asking is a good one, and this is where experience comes in. I call it dexterity, is that when you're in outcome two, which is showings and no offers, or maybe there's a low offer, how long do you go? And in an upward rising market, I have seen in some of our listings, instead of like it's selling in the first 10 showings like normal, you could be at 30 or 35 showings. And what's happened is either the right buyer has come along or the market is percolated up to that number. And that's what you're going to have to just have a feel for. There's not one size fits all on that, Curtis, although that is a real skill you develop, and you would be able to articulate that to the seller. It's no different than a plastic surgeon removing something on your skin. They kind of know how deep to cut, and they'll take out the bad and leave the good. That's what our level of skill and dexterity will get to look like after a while. Any other comments on what we just talked about? Okay, well, there we go. How about that? All right, so let's go into a couple different little things I've written down here. So how are we working with buyers? What's the biggest challenge right now you guys are finding? Is it buyers or sellers? And you can put it in the chat. Are you finding buyers are a little skittish to the market because it's been going up so fast? Are you finding sellers skittish? Who is giving you the hardest time right now, buyers or sellers? No one's typing.
Hey, Denny, I was going to say, I literally just had, I've got a person in Utah that wants to buy a condo in Scottsdale. And we looked at one, it was gone the next day. We just looked at another one. I just called the agent up. They have 11 offers in, 7 cash, $50,000 over the ask price with escalations built in. So how do we take care of our buyers in a market like this?
Oh my gosh.
So what was it listed at, James?
It came in at 559, and I just called the agent. She said, yeah, we're already over 600. He's making a decision today at noon. It just went on the market. It was live 2 days ago. It's in Greyhawk, but just the idea that it's just a condo and it's already up over 600K with escalators pushing it higher.
So does that kind of underscore what we're talking about? There is a normal top market value, and there's the top market value irrational. So
absolutely.
Wait, did you look at past sales?
I haven't pulled it up on this one yet, but I looked at some other ones from 5, 6, 7 years ago, and they were 400,000, 350,000, and now they're going for 6+.
Right. Well, here's what I want you to do when you're working with buyers is I want you to look at the past sales, because many times what could have happened, what happens if a listing agent lists it too low? Meaning, let's say they listed on comps. Would you expect there to be a big jump into irrational?
Yes, in this market for sure.
So my advice to a buyer, I would show them, well, see, they listed this at, 560, or I mean, the comps were 560, 580, they're at 590. When in reality, comp price versus what the market's willing to pay, and I don't know, there's no set percentage. However, I would say it's clearly between 10 and maybe even 20% on some properties. So would the buyer be justified with that type of information to go 10%, maybe $50,000 over, maybe 20%, maybe a lot? Would 10% be warranted in most cases if the listing agent is pricing based on past sales? Now, that's how you save yourself in that scenario, where if you could pull the past sales and find out that basically the listing agent is basically basing this price on the rational market, then you'll just have to school your buyer. Whenever we see a price based on rational, I don't want you to start drooling, because that's going to mean that the asking price is the starting line. We have to be willing to go maybe 5 or 10 or even 15% above that. Now, going to the escalation clauses, you guys have been on the call before. I know they can work. I know some people use them well. I'm not particularly a big fan of them because they're complicated and they're written differently. And if you have a listing agent that does not understand them nor has the ability to articulate them accurately to the seller, the contract with the biggest number on it wins. So I would then I would script my buyer to go in as strong as he could and without an escalator. And I think I've role played that before. And if you guys want to hear it, we can do it. I've done that before by saying, okay, what's the most you're willing to go? Well, 610. Okay. So if you found out it sold for 610, 500, how would you feel? Well, I wouldn't feel good. Well, you lost it by $500. Well, then what would you have done? Well, I'd come in higher. Well, then 610 wasn't your best. You get them up to the very, very top. And whereas if they lose it, they're not going to lose any sleep over it. So that's the kind of market we're in. What if you had a buyer, and I'll like somebody else to take this as a role play, and I can be a buyer, or in fact, I'm happy to be the buyer.
Hang up, there's something in the chat. In Scottsdale, it says remarks request waiver of appraisal for any over asking price offers.
That's not only in Scottsdale, that's thanks, Sonny. That's in a lot of markets. We have somebody here that basically had a home. And again, I won't bore you with the details. Typical thing, appraised for 440 like 90 days ago, and he's got offers at 500, 501,000, waived an appraisal, and didn't waive inspection yet. However, that's how crazy it is. So who would like to be an agent? I'll be the buyer, and here, who would like to be able to do the role play, question-based role play? And this is what I'm saying. We want to make sure that we get the best deal. Who wants to role play that? Any brave souls? All right. Then who wants to be the buyer? And I'll be the agent.
I'll be the buyer.
All right. Myra, right?
Yes.
All right. So you want to make sure you get the best deal?
Yes, I do.
Hot dog. That's awesome. There's my acknowledgement. Other than that, what has to happen for you to move forward with me today? There's the isolation.
Well, I'm sorry, I didn't put attention at the beginning. Do you have the property? Do you have the property that I'm looking in the neighborhood that I tell you?
Okay, yeah. So let's say we just looked at a house, and you want to make sure you get a good deal, right? So
yes, I am ready to.
Other than getting a good deal, what else has to happen for you to move forward on this house we looked at today? Are we confused?
Yeah, hold on once. Yes, I am.
No worries, no worries. Hang on. Well, maybe come back to you. Who would like to be my buyer? You guys got to do this. I mean,
I'll do it.
Go ahead, Rosie.
Rosie. So
Hi, Denny. How are you?
we just looked at the house, and so is this the house you want to? Is this the house you want to own, Rosie?
Yes, I really like it.
And now you're going to say, I just want to make sure I get a good deal.
And of course, I will pay the less as possible, Denny.
Oh, great. Just my luck. I have you as a buyer. Okay, so, well, I understand that. So other than that, other than making sure you get a good deal on the home, is there anything else that would keep you from owning this home?
No.
Now, I know what you want to do, you guys, and however, I'm just going to encourage you to follow the model because you want to drill down and handle the I want a good deal thing, right? However, could there be something else? And she doesn't have to say, although if you don't ask, you're not going to know. So, so Rosie, let me ask you this then. How do you define a good deal?
Well, I would like to have some equity on the home, and I don't want to be in trouble 5 years from now, being in negative equity.
Okay. What else?
Well, basically, the least expensive home in the most expensive neighborhood. That's my goal.
Yeah, well, we're talking about this home right now. So any other way you describe a good deal? What's any other way you describe a good deal? Because what you said somewhat really has to do with what's going on in the future. What has to happen what has to happen in the present to make sure you feel comfortable you're getting a good deal?
Basically is that I can afford it comfortably. Like I don't want to pay more than $600,000.
Okay. And the home is listed at 615. So are you saying that basically the most you're willing to pay is 600?
Well, I would like to get it at 600. Do you think we can do that?
Well, I don't know. Let me ask you this question though. Who has an idea where I'm going next, you guys? This is a very fundamental question. You want to figure out where the buyer's mindset is. I use it every week. This is the perfect time to use this question. You should use to all your buyers and sellers. All my star pupils that are on this call, what am I going to ask next?
If it goes for 615 or 620, if she's going to regret it.
Well, yeah. Now okay. Now that is part of the role play a little bit later. If you remember, you always going to find out where they start, where they are, right? So I'm going to use the meat thermometer. So I'm going back to Rosie. Rosie, let me ask you your opinion of what's going on in the market for a buyer right now. And there's no wrong answer. Do you think the market's working in your favor or working against you?
Against me.
And how do you mean that?
Well, because the houses are selling so quickly and I see that they're selling above asking price. So if I'm trying to get a reduction in price, it's going to be kind of hard. So, but I've seen it happen. So I hope we can do it.
Now, for the newer people in the class, and I've said this before, I want you to understand, I want you to write down as you're taking notes, that is a 10X question. Meaning, when you ask them what they think of the market, and she just went through the litany of things, things are selling fast and selling for more money, and it's working against me. When she says it, that's worth 10 times the value of you telling her that they're in a seller's market. When they can use their lips and their brain power to state what you already know, that gives you 10 times the power of you making a statement. Now that is a nugget right there, guys. That's why I asked that question. I already know the answer. I don't know what they think. I already know what the market's doing. Do you see the difference between asking her to articulate it versus you telling? Now, she answered the question beautifully, and then she said, well, I guess it could happen, right? And she's holding out hope that maybe lightning will strike, maybe she will find the 4-leaf clover. So on this particular house, it's been on the market. Now, I know we just met, and what you're saying is right. We're in a what we call a seller's market, Rosie. You know why it's called a seller's market?
Yes.
You do?
Well, sellers are getting what they're asking for or more than what they're asking for.
Yeah. What it means is there's more buyers than sellers. So there's competition. So for
Right.
example, this house came on the market last night, and we were there, and you know, the markets, the probability, and we could already tell there was people looking at it when we got there. We had to wait for them to come out. Do you think the probability is if somebody else has seen this home that they like it as well?
Probably yes.
And have you ever run into a home that you really liked and then somebody maybe beat you to it?
Yes, I have.
So when you say when you say a good deal, I'm going to ask you, what's more important, looking for a good deal that may never happen, or owning a home and building equity? Because you mentioned about building equity.
Yeah, so what do you think I should do? Or do you recommend I rent until the market gets better
Well,
for
okay,
buyers?
that would be, watch this, you guys. I'm going to hit her straight on. That would be an awesome strategy if you could tell me when the market's going to get better or worse, actually. When will that happen?
Probably we don't know until the supply, when more homes come into the market and this market gets a little more normal, I guess.
Right. And so,
But we
Yeah.
don't know when.
no. So what happens if you think you rent for a year and it doesn't get worse? Now the houses are 10% higher. How will you feel?
Oh, I would feel really bad.
And you're not buying just to flip it, are you? Or you're going to live there, right?
Yes, I'm gonna live there.
So over the long term, the only way you win is like you have to be an owner.
Yeah, I agree. I think we should go for it and try to get the best deal possible.
Awesome. What's the best? Now I'm going to hang in here, guys. Don't put your fingerprints on this. Now I'm going to go, Curtis, now I'm going to go where you were talking about. So let me ask you. So the asking price is $615. And basically in this marketplace, the asking price is what we call the starting line. So the best deal is basically the best deal equals winner. And the winner we define as the person who actually gets to own the home. So based on what your budget is and the asking price is $615, what's the most you're willing to invest to own this home?
Well, I guess we can go and make the offer for $615 and see what happens.
Okay, true. And my question is this is like a sealed bid auction. There's no negotiation. You're going to have one chance. So what happens if you go in at $615 and you realize later that they don't take your offer, they take somebody else's offer, and you found out it sold for $616? How will you feel?
So what would you do? How much would you offer?
That's simple. You see, when you start agreeing with people, you're totally disarming them. When I say that's simple, I would just do my best. What is the best? What is the strongest offer you can make to start building equity? Now I'm using her words.
Mhm.
What's your strongest offer, Rosie?
Well, I think 620 would be the max because I was at 600. But if we go on 620 and, I won't have any room for negotiation after that.
Well, that's good news to hear because there won't be any negotiations. Count on it.
Right.
you know when, I was gonna say something, I'm not gonna say it. So she's at 620. Now I know that James, Rick, there's people on this call that know how to handle, what's the script now? She's at 620, what's the script? So you can bookend her. James? Anybody know?
Denny, would you say like if it's 620 and you know if somebody beats you by $500,
Yes.
how would you feel?
Step in and ask her that question.
Okay. Hey, if you put in the offer for 620, right, and someone beats you by the offer from by $500, how would you feel?
Oh, not good. I mean, for $500?
Yeah,
No, I think I would be upset.
got it. So Rosie, that was not your best offer, was it?
I guess no.
So what's your best offer?
So it would be 620, 500.
Okay, and same thing for 620, 500. If someone did 620,
621.
620,
621.
That's okay.
if somebody did 621, you know, how would you feel?
Well, I think we can go on and on until that's an interesting perspective.
Yeah. So,
Well,
so what would be,
Hang on. You're doing great. However, make sure you don't talk over her because she's going to give you some tidbits here.
oh, okay.
Okay. Well, I think, to be honest, 622 is the max, but literally after that, there's even if it sells for 622, 500, I would just let it go and move on.
Got it. So now we have your top offer, and I think we can proceed with that.
Yep.
And if you want to put a bow on it, Rashawn, that was awesome. Nice job.
Yes.
And
You're
I know,
invited.
Rosie, you played that part well because the way you kind of laughed and like you were playing it real. I mean, I give you an Oscar or an Emmy or whatever the right word is. If you want to, what you want to do at that point is say, well, Rosie, I wanted to get you to that point because there's no guarantee you're going to get the home. However, if you can lay your head on a pillow and sleep, I can sleep because we know we did our best.
Right. Makes sense.
The other thing you're guarding against is this. How many buyers lose out because the agents get their ego involved and suggest they're trying to hold back, save money. I'll save you some money. They don't get the home, or you might just do a good job. Yet because they lost, they have to blame someone and they'll blame you.
They blame the agent.
Oh, it always happens.
That was a beautiful job of not putting your fingerprints on the price. Don't get, I know some of you guys are gonna get a little bit like, oh no, how do you have to keep going back and forth? Yes. And you make it a fun. Well, hey, Rosie, you know the question I'm going to ask you. If you find out you lost it by 500, Rosie, I have to get you to Uncle. I have to get you to say no more. That's all. Because if you can sleep, I can sleep. Now there's one more piece of this bookend. I noticed I said bookends. Who knows the last part before you make the offer? Because if you're taking notes in the buyer consultation, when it comes down to basically them buying a home, you want to be blameless. There's one more step. Who knows what it is? You've got to give them the what if. What if you're standing in the grocery line? Who knows that story?
The regrets from the grocery store, from the supermarket.
Yes, Kevin. So Rosie, let's say you're standing in line at the supermarket. Let's say, congratulations, you get the house for 622. You're standing in line at the grocery store and two people ahead of you is the seller. Now the seller doesn't see you, but you recognize the seller because you met them once. And the seller is telling the cashier, man, this real estate market here is crazy. I put my house on the market at 615, had 5 offers. All of them were at full price. And then one lady stopped in and offered me 622. Wow. Awesome. You just heard that. Now you own the home, you paid 622 and find out you were the highest bid by $7,000. How would you feel?
Well, all my eggs would be in their car. No, I would feel terrible. I will feel like taken advantage of. But at the same time, you know, that's how the game goes.
So you'd feel taken advantage of. That's understandable. Yet you own the home. You're enjoying the home. Now, see, that's future. We can change the future if you want. Which is the greater pain? Losing it for $500 and not getting the home, or maybe investing a few $500 or a few $1,000s over the highest bid and getting the home? Which one would you rather have, I should say?
I'd rather have the home for sure.
All right. Now, I've done that before in the past. That's the conversation you need to have. Any thoughts, feedback? You guys have been super quiet today. It's a little bit, it's not really that lengthy when you put things in perspective. However, how many people have worked with a buyer lost out on a multiple bid situation, and really you didn't do a really good job of preparing them for that, and you might have lost the buyer.
I've had it work out properly by kind of explaining it that way, where they were not sure that it was necessary to go over, but it ended up getting them the house, and in the end they were pretty happy with the fact that they went over. You know, the home was more valuable than the, you know, marginal increase in their mortgage.
Great. Thank you, Curtis. James, you want to step up and role play with me? I want to give you one. Let's demonstrate your muscles. Are you the place where you can talk? Not like How about David? David, can you play?
Yeah, I'm here.
Moses? You want to do it?
Do what, Denny?
You want to role play?
What part?
I want you to be an agent. I want to give you an objection.
Okay, I'm an agent. You're going to give me an objection?
Yes.
How about, I was hoping you could target something. I don't want to take you off topic, but I was going to ask you about lenders, because I've been seeing, you know, many people are going to different companies, and a lot of properties I've been seeing, for example, some homes are asking for land purchase offers versus residential because of permit issues. And how do you find your best lenders, or a lender that is actually going to pay when you get in contract?
So, I mean, a preferred lender, Moses, is that what you're asking?
A successful one, yes.
Well, most people probably have an office or a team. We have one or two lenders that basically we work with consistently. The mortgage, they're local. The mortgage rep has been at this for some time in different markets. So we know when they speak, they're direct. They don't take us down the Pimroad path. And so, and if you don't have one like that yet, it'd be easy to find one in your area by talking to some of the top agents, or your, you know, I don't know if you're with Keller Williams, or talk to your real estate office. Most real estate offices have that.
I'm seeing them change names. So I don't know if it's because they got kicked off their team or if they were just moving. But you know, I've been looking into that because I seen one buyer buy a car a couple months ago, and you know, his lender began to back out of the deal, and but they kept him as a customer. So this is the area that that I've been watching.
Well, I think again, go to the top agent.
Okay.
They've already figured that out. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. And so if you came into my office here and you, hey, look, I need a lender, I'd turn you on to mine because she's paid her dues and she's earned it. So.
Thank you.
You bet. No worries. Anything else? I want to do one role play here about. I need a brave soul.
All right.
All right, Rick. Rick, hey, listen, this is similar. Let's see if you can handle this. You guys pretend like you're actually, what would you be asking? All right. So, Rick, here's the deal. I want a good deal on a house. I'm looking for a good deal.
So how, Denny, tell me, how would you define a good deal?
Well, that's a good question. My folks told me a long time ago, you should probably buy something 5 to 10% under asking price. That's what I'm looking for.
Oh, okay. Well, let me ask you this. Is there anything else other than the 5 to 10% on asking price? What else, would there be anything else that be part of it that you would consider a good deal?
You guys, that's a perfect way of, sticking with the model. I know you want to chase the hubcap. Don't do it. Well, that's the main one right there. I want to make sure I get something 5 to 10% under asking price.
Okay. All right. So let me ask you this. In this market, do you think the market's working for you or against you?
Well, I think it's pretty good. I mean, I guess it's both ways. I mean, interest rates are good, and I know there's homes selling off the shelf, or flying off the shelf, and however, there's got to be somebody out there that I can get a good deal on.
Huh? And that may be. I don't know. So let me ask you this. As far as getting a good deal, what would that mean for you? I mean,
well,
so,
I want minimum 5%, maybe 10% off asking price.
okay. And what would that do for you?
That would make me feel like I've won. I mean, I save money and then make me feel like I've won.
Okay. So is winning important to you?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I got to explain this to my buddies and my pops, and he's going to ask me. I know he's going to ask me.
Okay. So in regards to that, what would you say was more important, winning or finding the house that you really want?
That's a really good question. I'm just stepping out of role for a minute.
Yeah.
That's a good question. Even when you play a role play a buyer and somebody asks you a really good question, a rational question, without being a total jerk.
Yeah.
It is a good chess move. Well, they're both important, Rick.
Okay. Well, of the two, which would you think would be more important, the winning or finding the house that you really want?
See, again, he's been on the calls, and we do that all the time. If they've got multiple concerns, and ask at least one time what's more important, and more than half the time they'll tell you. Now I'm going to. I'll make it easy because we're running out of time. Well, I'm not going to buy a house I don't want. However, I've got to win. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. My mic, it just went on mute.
Okay.
So you don't want to buy a house that you don't want, and you want to feel good about it. Is that right?
Well, I'm not going to buy an ugly house. I'm going to buy something that I like, of course. However, I've got to win. I've got to win.
Yeah. So in looking for the house that you really want, is it what's more important, that the house that you want or the good deal?
Well, now just stepping out, it sounds like you're asking me the same question like for the second or third time. Are you meaning to do that, or you're a little bit not knowing where to go?
Well, I'm running out of gas here.
Okay.
So on this one here, so he doesn't want to buy a house he doesn't want, and so the from this point on, we've established which is more important, And I think from what I'm stepping on a roll here, what I'm hearing is you're moving more from the good deal and the winning toward more the house that you want.
No, I was pretty consistent. I said, I'm not going to buy something I don't like, but I want to win. I was pretty emphatic on that. Winning is it.
Okay. Well, I misheard that. So that's why the questions that's where I ran out of steam on the line of questions.
Now there is a solution here. I'm leading him down. There is an answer to this type of buyer. I'm just waiting to see if Rick comes up with it. Anybody can help out.
Yeah. I'm gonna phone a friend or something here.
Setting expectations maybe to look for homes that have been on the market for a little bit longer without offers, that may have room for negotiation.
All right. So now you see where he's going with that, right?
Yeah.
So if I'm wanting, all right. So Curtis, how would you do that?
Just by explaining that, finding a good deal is a little bit more work. So you're going to have to, look for homes that other people are overlooking.
You're being too kind about that. Show me my folly. If you're going to run into people, their yardstick of a good deal is how much they get off the asking price. Have you ever run into that buyer?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, what we're going to have to do, Rick, we can do that. We can do that. However, we're going to have to go and look at the homes that nobody else wanted or that are overpriced. Is that okay?
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah.
So do you know why the best homes sell first?
Because
they're the best deal.
They're the best. They're the best. And the ones that don't sell are the leftovers. So we're going to have to go to the leftovers, homes that have been on the market a while, and probably because they're overpriced. So how would you feel then if a home is on the market at $300,000, has been on the market for 180 days at $300,000, and you bought it for $280? Would that make you feel good?
Yeah. Yeah, it would make you feel good.
Well, somebody's got some kids in the background. Is that you, Rick?
Nope.
You might want to mute yourself. You've got the family, the kids. Okay, so if you bought it for $280, you'd feel good?
Yes.
What if it was only worth $250? How would you feel?
Oh, I wouldn't feel good about that. Overpaid.
Yeah, but you got what you wanted. You got 10% under asking price, roughly.
Oh. I didn't think about that.
You see where you go with stuff like that. Curtis was on the right trail. Number one, that if someone wants a good deal, you have to have them change their focus and go not for the best homes. They're going to go overnight or certainly less than a few days or a week. You're going to have to go up the food chain a little bit to homes that have been on the market a while that probably have some warts. And if they're going to evaluate that based on what they get off the asking price, the danger is, so remember, every decision has a potential consequence.
Right.
What the irony is in this is this. Rick wants I was playing the buyer. I wanted a good deal. Which is the better deal? Getting the seller that on the market for 180 days at 300 and I paid 275 or 270, I get my 10% off. And it may not even be worth 270. Or a new house comes on the market at $300,000 and there's multiple offers. It goes for 320. Who had the better deal there? I want you to be able to articulate the difference between those. One, you bought a house where everybody wanted, and the reason they had multiple offers and the price was bid up was because it was a good deal. I mean, it's the homecoming queen, homecoming king, or whatever, so that's what I wanted to cover, because even in this market, people are just shopping for that good deal. I want you to understand, to be able to articulate the difference. So we're almost up on the top of the hour. So what I need, if you guys want to.
That's good. I mean, that was great.
Thank you, Rick. Put in the chat or speak up. Give me 2 or 3 ahas. That's the gas that keeps us going. for next week. So what did you learn? What was your ahas here, gang?
How about the satisfaction?
Say it again, Moses.
Giving satisfaction and getting the satisfaction. And that they did their best and they're secure with it.
Yep. Nice job. Thank you. Two more quickly. Look at the past sales. Okay.
Then
Rosemary.
from my side, I'm really just, it was a massive aha, especially because I run into these buyers a lot that wants to get that win, that 5 to 10% lower, and just that small scripting where I now tell them that what sells in your opinion, and if those houses are going for full price offers and higher, do you really want to look at the leftovers or just targeting that leftover market? Because that might be what they're going for. So not demeaning the leftover market, but actually seeing the opportunity in this person being so set on winning that might actually be the market that he or she's going to be buying in.
Awesome. Very well said. Thank you guys for that. Thank you for the ahas you're putting in the chat. I see every one of them. Tell your friends about the class next week, same bat channel, same time, 1 to 2 o'clock. We'll be digging deeper into mastery role plays. I'll be in my studio with my internet. I'll be so happy, and I'll share the graphs with you, okay? If I can help you in the meantime, you can text me 239-851-4600. Have a good week.
Thanks, Denny.
Thank you, Denny. Thanks,
Be careful
brother.
out there.
Thanks, Denny.
Thank you.
It's fantastic.